Revealed, how a single birthday whiskey gift unexpectedly transformed our family dynamics forever. Ethan stared at the unopened bottle of whiskey resting on the kitchen table like a ticking time bomb. It was his birthday, but instead of celebrating, he felt a knot form in his stomach. This gift from his estranged father dragged a heavy legacy filled with silence and bitterness, yet it offered a glimmer of hope if only he dared to grasp it. The small-town gossip might be relentless, yet nobody seemed to grasp the weight he carried, not even his own family. The tension was palpable as his wife, Marissa, prepared dinner, her tired hands moving mechanically. After long double shifts at the hospital, she had little time or energy left for family dynamics. Mia and Jake, their teenagers, flitted through the living room, glued to their phones but aware, even if silently, of the chasm silently widening around the dinner table. It felt like a storm brewing. It was like everyone knew how hard everything was, but no one dared to break the silence. Ethan felt like a failure. His job as a mechanic vanished after years of hard work, replaced by shadows of self-doubt. It wasn't just the job, it was the essence of who he was that felt shattered. The gift from his father had ignited a flickering flame of resentment within him. For years, his father's absence hung over him like a shadow. Why now? Ethan wondered, fingers itching to open the bottle, to pour a shot and forget. But Marissa saw it differently. She warned him, pushing him to look forward. The past was dead weight. Ethan, please, she said quietly, you need to let it go. For us. As night settled in, emotions boiled over during dinner. Seeking normalcy, the family gathered, but with each bite, misunderstandings popped like fireworks. I wish you would just try. Mia burst out, eyeing her father. It's like you don't even care. Jake chimed in, shaking his head, none of this feels normal anymore. Their voices cut through the awkwardness, revealing their anger and hurt. Just stop. Ethan snapped, brimming with frustration. Before anyone could process the damage, a sudden crisis struck their neighborhood. The storm wreaked havoc, damaging Mrs. Thompson's home, the sweet elderly neighbor who always had their backs. Suddenly, the family had no choice but to come together to help. That was their chance, and it ignited a flicker of determination in Ethan's heart. Torrential rain hadn't moved their spirits. If anything, it pushed Ethan to finally open up that bottle of whiskey on the night of his birthday. With each member holding a glass, conversations poured out too. Secrets poured like the storm outside, revealing their hearts. Tears mixed with laughter as grievances unfolded. Mia shared how scared she felt, and Jake revealed he was struggling to keep up in school. Even Marissa cracked, confessing her fears of slipping further into exhaustion. Could we really mend this? Ethan wondered, his heart pounding with hope. They were finally unearthing the pain they buried. But as the warmth of connection surrounded them, one question lingered painfully: was this whiskey enough to heal the fractures in their lives, or would they wake up tomorrow facing the same storms? The night carried promise, yet uncertainty loomed like dark clouds in their future. The morning light broke through the kitchen window like a cautious friend, illuminating the remnants of last night's revelations. Ethan opened one eye, feeling the dull ache of a hangover competing with an equally painful anxiety. Conversations from the previous evening echoed in his mind, laughter mixed with tears, grudges confronted, and fears aired. Had it really been enough? The warmth that filled the house last night felt tentative, as if the sunlight was afraid to touch it. Marissa was already up, moving through her routine with a quiet determination. The morning air felt thicker than usual, and the silence was somehow louder. Ethan noticed she hesitated, fixing his coffee just right. One slow stir, then another, the clink of the spoon battered against the porcelain, breaking the tension. Hey, he called softly, as she eyed him over her shoulder. Hey, she replied, though her eyes briefly flicked to the whiskey that still sat on the table, a relic of their tentative breakthroughs. How are you feeling? Like I've been hit by a truck. He chuckled, though the laugh was bittersweet. But, also lighter. I think we might have made progress. Really? Marissa's brows raised slightly, skepticism mingling with a hint of encouragement. Yeah, I mean, it's a step, right? He said, pouring his heart into the words. We had that moment where we finally talked. Or exploded? She offered with a small smile. It was tentative, as though they were both afraid of what happiness might mean after nights of gloom. Just then, the kids wandered in, rubbing sleep out of their eyes and barely acknowledging their parents. Jake shambled over to the table, his tattered hoodie hanging loosely from his frame. "What's for breakfast?" he grumbled, reaching for the cereal. Mia entered next, her hair a tangled mess, eyes focused more on her phone than her family. "Can I skip today's practice?" "I'm too tired," she said, barely lifting her gaze. Ethan's heart sank a little. Last night had felt monumental, yet here they were, slipping back into their old routines just like that. "Guys, can we talk?" he said, the same knot forming in his stomach rearing its head again. "Not this morning," Jake muttered, plopping down and pouring cereal carelessly. "I need to get back to sleep." "And I have that paper due," Mia added, scrolling through her messages with disinterest. Marissa exchanged glances with Ethan, and he felt the weight of their words hanging in the air like unacknowledged truths. "Look, it doesn't have to be grand," Ethan said, watching them intently. "But we just shared so much, let's not sweep it all back under the rug." "Maybe you guys should just chill," Jake replied, irritation flaring visibly. "What do you know?" Mia snapped, turning to her brother. "You're not the one dealing with this." All at once, the memories of last night rushed back, opening up a bit, only for the lid to slam back down just as forcefully. Frustration bubbled up inside Ethan, threatening to burst out. "Enough!" he bellowed, catching them off guard. "Do you have any idea how hard this is for me? For all of us? We're not back to normal just because breakfast is on the table." Silence enveloped the kitchen. The weight of his outburst lingered, and Ethan felt his heart race in the thick quiet. He breathed in deep, trying to calm the storm rising within, but as Jake opened his mouth to respond, a loud crash echoed from outside, shattering the moment. "What now?" Mia whispered, her eyes darting toward the front of the house. Ethan felt a chill wrap around him. Whatever it was, it felt significant. "Let us go see," he said, a sudden urgency propelling them toward the door. As they stepped outside, they were met with a startling sight. A tree had fallen in their yard, blocking the street and putting their small world once again on an unsteady path. "Here we go again," Ethan muttered, feeling the familiar surge of determination rise within him. Maybe this was their chance, another opportunity to bond, to communicate. As they approached, he felt the flicker of hope ignite once more. Together. He knew they had to face this. Together. But as tension hummed in the air between them, would they truly answer the call of unity, or was it just another storm to weather? The fallen tree stretched across the yard like a green obstacle, its branches splayed awkwardly, creating an entirely new landscape in their familiar space. The morning sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows that danced nervously on the ground, mimicking the uncertainty Ethan felt in his chest. "Wow, that's big," Jake finally said, breaking the spell of silence that had lingered since their last, explosive exchange. "Great, just what we needed," Ethan replied, though his voice wavered between annoyance and curiosity. "Let us see if we can do something about it." He stepped closer to the trunk, inspecting the damage. "What do you mean do something?" Mia's voice rang with a sudden sharpness. "It's not like we can just move a tree." "Maybe we can cut it up," Ethan suggested, trying to keep a hopeful tone despite the weight of the family's turmoil. "With the chainsaw in the shed, we could clear the road." Marissa, standing back with her arms crossed, offered a weary sigh. "Are you sure it's safe?" "We've never done anything like this before," she said, her anxiety threading through each word. Ethan paused, seeing the doubt written across her face. "We can figure it out together," he said gently, trying to bridge the gap between their fears and his desire for action. The idea lingered, like the smell of damp earth around them. After a moment, Jake shrugged, his irritation dimming slightly. "Why not? Could be fun. I mean, are you really gonna let a tree win over us?" "See, now you're talking," Ethan replied, the corners of his mouth lifting. Did they really mean it? Mia rolled her eyes but then looked at her brother, an unspoken challenge flashing between them. "Fine. I'll help. But only if I can do the cutting. I'm the one who knows how to use a knife. Chainsaw, Ethan reminded her, but the small spark of competitiveness lit in her eyes was something he cherished. Whatever. I'm still tougher than both of you, she shot back, and there was a subtle thrill in her voice, a sign of life he hadn't expected so soon. Maybe last night hadn't been in vain. All right, first things first, Ethan said, walking back toward the house, the need for the chainsaw pushing him forward. Jake, grab some gloves and a saw. Mia, get the first aid kit just in case. What, you think I'm gonna somehow hurt myself? Mia smirked. Ethan chuckled, the tension lifting a little. I just can't risk it. But also, I think you're about as risky as the tree. As they gathered gear, Marissa remained behind for a moment, watching. For every step forward Ethan made, she felt both hope and trepidation. Could this be a way to forge new connections among them, to push back the darkness slowly gathering in their lives? When they were finally ready, the chainsaw hummed to life, a throaty roar that shattered the quiet of the morning. As Ethan took position, he felt both excitement and unease brimming inside him. Ready? He called out. Mia stood next to him, determination burning in her eyes. Just go. She yelled. He pressed the blade against the base of the tree, sending vibrations through his hands. Together. He shouted back, as they all worked through the branches, laughter and jabs about the tree's supposed strength peppering their efforts, yet as the first branch fell with a solid thud, a sudden shift occurred. Something deep within their seemingly unbreakable family facade wavered. In that moment of noise and chaos, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were finally learning how to break free together. But as they cleared the last of the fallen timber, a loud cracking sound echoed from above. Look out! Marissa cried as a larger limb began to splinter and fall. Ethan's instincts kicked in, heart pounding as he realized just how unpredictable life and their relationships truly were. Would this bring them closer, or tear them apart again? As he braced himself, he wondered if the next turn would lead them deeper into family turmoil or finally, to healing. The crack echoed louder than Ethan expected, slicing through the morning air like a knife. Time seemed to freeze as he and the others turned their gazes upward, feeling the weight of what could happen next. The limb teetered ominously, ready to break free from its hold. Ethan! Marissa shouted, her voice layered with panic. Without thinking, he lunged toward Mia, instinct taking over. In one swift motion, he grabbed her arm, pulling her toward him as he shielded her with his body. The moment felt electric, an odd mix of fear and fierce protectiveness coursing through him. The branch snapped free and crashed to the ground, just inches away from them. A cloud of dust and debris enveloped the spot, creating a momentary veil over their surroundings. Heart racing, Ethan turned to Mia, whose face had gone pale, her eyes wide. Are you okay? He whispered, still holding her close. She nodded slowly, but he could see the fear flickering behind her brave facade. A mix of emotions swirled within him, relief that she was unharmed clashed with anxiety over how this moment could shift everything for their family. Everyone good? Jake called out, keeping a watchful eye on the trees above. Marissa stepped forward, brushing debris from her clothes. That was close, she said, the tremor in her voice revealing her shaken state. As they regrouped, Ethan caught Marissa's eyes, and for a fleeting second, a shared understanding passed between them. Maybe they were finally confronting the reality of their situation together, maybe the world outside their damaged family didn't have to be so daunting after all. The buzz of the chainsaw had faded into the background noise, replaced by the thumping of their hearts. They stood surrounded by the remnants of nature's fury, a raw testament to their struggle. Let us finish this, Ethan said, taking another step towards the tree. We can't let fear take over, right? Yeah, Mia replied, her voice steadier. She squared her shoulders and grabbed the chainsaw from Ethan with newfound determination. I can do this. Ethan smiled, a mix of pride and hope swelling in his chest. As she moved forward, she looked back at him, her grit shining through the unsettling morning. Watch out, tree! She shouted, revving the chainsaw. Laughter broke the tense air, lifting their spirits as they prepared to tackle the mighty fallen trunk once again. But just as they were regaining momentum, an unsettling thought gnawed at the edges of Ethan's mind. Had that close call truly shaken them into a new understanding? Would this moment really lead to healing and connection? Or was it simply a temporary distraction, a way to avoid delving into the deeper fractures that lay beneath? He could feel the tension screwing tighter between them, the clock ticking down towards the next inevitable crisis. As Mia began cutting into the bark, furiously concentrated, Ethan's heart began to race again, but not from fear. This time, it was anticipation. Changes were blooming, and the air was thick with potential. Whatever was meant to happen next in their family needed to surface. Then, without warning, a voice pierced through the clearing. "Ethan." It was Jake, his tone a mix of urgency and shock. "You need to see this." Ethan's stomach dropped. What else could this day throw at them? As he turned toward his brother, a knot of uncertainty twisted in his gut. The direction they were heading today had started with a tree, but it felt as if more than just wood was being uprooted. What revelation awaited him this time? Ethan's heart pounded as he turned to face Jake. The urgency in his brother's voice sent a jolt of adrenaline through him. Suddenly, the chainsaw felt heavy in Mia's hands, its roar a distant echo compared to the charge in the air. "What is it?" Ethan asked, his voice tense, betraying none of the hope he felt only moments ago. "Just come," Jake shouted, already moving toward the edge of the clearing. Ethan shot a quick glance back at Mia, who stood there, chainsaw idling, uncertainty flickering in her expression. "I'll be right back," he promised, a mixture of reassurance and dread coloring his voice. He took off after Jake, leaving the sound of the chainsaw and the half-fallen tree behind. They rushed past the scattered branches and debris, weaving through the splintered trunks as Ethan's thoughts spun. What could Jake have found? Was it another fallen branch? Or something that could somehow unravel every delicate thread of hope they had started to stitch together? Jake stopped at the foot of a larger tree, a monument of oak, its bark gnarled and rough. "Look," he said, pointing upward, where the branches danced in quiet defiance against the blue sky. Ethan followed his gesture, squinting against the sunlight. High above, nestled among the leaves, hung a small, faded yellow box. His heart sank as recognition hit him. "What is that doing there?" he murmured, taking a step closer. "That's Mom's old birthday present," Jake replied, his voice now softer, laced with nostalgia. Ethan felt a rush of emotions: confusion, anger, and a deep sadness all mingled into one. This was the gift their mother had once cherished, a simple whiskey bottle, her favorite. But in the years since she had passed, it had gotten lost in the chaos of grief and blame that surrounded their house, left abandoned like so many memories. "Why is it still up there?" Ethan asked, his voice breaking slightly. "Shouldn't we bring it down?" Jake clenched his jaw, an argument flickering behind his eyes. "Maybe we should leave it," he said hesitantly. "It's a reminder of who she was, maybe what we've lost more than what we have." "But what if we talk about it?" Finally. The weight of his brother's words pressed heavy on Ethan's chest. Fear and hope wrestled for dominance inside him. Could dragging this old wound back into the light lead them to healing? Or would it expose them all their cracks and sensitivities even further? Maybe Ethan hesitated. Maybe it's time we face what we've been avoiding. He knew it wouldn't be easy. Hard conversations always seemed to tear families apart or bring them back together in ways none could anticipate. Jake nodded slowly as if processing not just the idea, but everything that had led to this moment. "Let us get the box down then," he said, determination sparking in his eyes. "It's time to talk about Mom, about us." They set to work, climbing to unsteadily retrieve the box. With each cautious handhold, Ethan felt layers of their shared past peel back, memories both painful and beautiful vying for space in his heart. As the box finally came loose from its perch, it felt as if the air shifted, the weight of the past pressing sharply against the present. The moment they dusted it off, Mia and Marissa joined them, intrigued by the commotion. "What is it?" Marissa asked, curiosity laced with concern. "This was Mom's," Ethan replied, gesturing to the box. "It's time we really talked." As they gathered around, the laughter and the buzzing had dimmed, replaced by a burgeoning silence laden with emotions they had long kept buried. No doubt, this was the beginning of something monumental for their family. Ethan could feel the atmosphere thickening as they prepared to confront not just memories, but the deep fissures that had grown between them. Conversations could heal or hurt, but what lay beneath might impact far more than they could anticipate. As the box creaked open, the faint scent of whiskey wafted through the air, mingling with the memories that danced before them. Little did they know, this moment would unravel threads of their family's story, revealing both truths and unspoken fears that could either unite them or tear them apart once more. What stories awaited them inside that dusty box? As Ethan took a breath and pulled the box open, a cloud of dust puffed out, catching the sunlight and shimmering briefly in the air. It momentarily obscured his view, but in that suspended moment, he felt the weight of all their unspoken words, feelings trapped in time, waiting to spill forth. Jake leaned closer, his eyes wide with anticipation. "What's in there?" he whispered, his voice barely a breath. Marissa and Mia stood at the edge, their expressions shifting between concern and curiosity. It was the kind of moment that felt electric, charged with possibility and fear. Ethan lifted the lid fully, revealing the bottle nestled inside, its label faded but still intact. He carefully cradled it in his hands, a deep sense of nostalgia washing over him. Memories swirled in his mind, laughter around the table, his mother's joyful face, her love for that rich amber liquid. "What do we do with it?" Mia finally asked, breaking the silence that settled like a heavy fog. The question lingered, too loaded to answer casually. "Maybe we should pour it out," Jake suggested, his voice resolute, but a flicker of uncertainty lingered behind his eyes. Grappling with the weight of what that action symbolized, Ethan felt his heart constrict. Pouring it out felt like erasing a part of their mother, yet keeping it seemed to anchor them in the past. "Or we could share it, like she would have wanted," he countered, scanning the faces around him. "Remember how she would always say that whiskey was best enjoyed with family?" A soft smile broke across Marissa's face, and the faintest hint of warmth spread through the air. But Mia looked uneasy, her brow furrowed. "What if this opens up old wounds? We might not be ready for that." "Then let us be honest," Ethan replied, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. "We've been avoiding so many topics for too long. If not now, when?" Silence stretched between them as the weight of his words sank in. The better part of their family history had been overshadowed by grief, and for each of them, moving forward seemed to require confronting the past head-on. Jake exhaled slowly, pondering Ethan's resolve. Finally, he nodded, the spark of determination lighting his features once more. "Okay, then let us do this together." With a sense of purpose, they gathered around, forming a tight circle, a budding unity amidst their shared uncertainty. Ethan set the bottle down, the cold glass glinting in the afternoon sun. "To Mom," he began, his voice steady yet tinged with emotion. "She loved us fiercely, even in her flaws. And I believe she'd want us to remember her with love, not just sorrow." Marissa nodded, her eyes glistening. "To Mom," she echoed softly. Mia swallowed hard, her voice trembling. "To family." Jake raised the bottle slightly. "To facing the things that frighten us together." Together, they shared the words, the act binding them closer, inching them toward a raw truth that had been buried for too long. Ethan poured a small amount into each of their cups, the amber liquid swirling as memories danced in the glass like brushstrokes of laughter and tears. Just as they prepared to drink, a sudden crack of thunder echoed through the sky, startling them. They froze, exchanging glances of concern and curiosity. "What was that?" Mia asked, looking nervously into the woods, shadows shifting like secret watchers. Jake dismissed the unease, but Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was brewing beneath the surface, not just in the heavy air, but within the very fabric of their family. As they raised their glasses in a toast, the ground below trembled slightly, as if nature itself recognized the storm of emotions about to be unleashed. Could the pouring out of both the whiskey and their feelings together lead to a breakthrough, or a deeper division? The words they needed to share flickered at the edge of their lips as the storm raged on, ready to break in tandem with their family secrets. Who would be the first to speak what lay underneath? The thunder rumbled again, louder this time, echoing like a drumbeat in Ethan's chest. He felt a strange urgency, as if the very air around them was charged with energy, waiting for release. Marissa looked at Mia and back at Ethan, her uncertainty mirrored in their eyes. "Maybe we should wait," Mia said, fidgeting with her glass. "I don't like this storm. It feels ominous." "Nah, let us just toast," Jake insisted, his tone light but failing to mask the tension. He raised his glass higher. "Cheers to whatever this is." He grinned, but it didn't reach his eyes. Ethan could see the fear flickering in the corners of his siblings' expressions. He took a deep breath, feeling the cool glass in his palm. "Let us do it. Together." They clinked their glasses cautiously, the sound sharp and clear despite the growls of the thunder. "To Mom," they said in unison. Just as they brought the glasses to their lips, a blinding flash lit up the sky, and the crack of lightning followed instantly, shaking the ground beneath them. They jumped back, the liquid sloshing in their glasses. All at once, the weather seemed to shift, becoming wild, as if mirroring their inner turmoil. "Maybe we should go inside," Marissa suggested, glancing at the darkening clouds. "No, we need to do this," Ethan replied, grounding himself in the moment, desperate to keep the connection alive. "We can't run away from this." Mia's gaze fell to her glass, the whiskey swirling inside reflecting a storm of feelings. What if we just talked? Instead of drinking? Ethan felt the weight of her words. Talking, the idea scared him, exposed him in a way he wasn't sure he was ready for. He nodded slowly, feeling the air grow heavier. "All right. Let us talk." Jake set his glass down, eyes narrowing in focus. "I think we all feel Mom's absence, but we've never said it. Like, really said it." The admission hung in the air. Their voices were shaky but edged in something powerful, the truth giving way to vulnerability. "She wasn't perfect," Marissa started hesitantly. "I mean, she was amazing in so many ways. But those moments of hurt, they played a role too." "I get that," Mia said, voice breaking. "She did what she could, but it was hard for all of us." Ethan could feel his heart racing. For so long, they had avoided these conversations. Every family gathering had transformed into a performance of smiles, masking the pain underneath. "I kind of felt alone sometimes," he confessed, barely above a whisper. "Like, I wasn't enough for her compared to you guys." "No, Ethan," Jake said, shaking his head. "We all felt that way. I thought it was just me." A wave of relief swept through him. "Really? You too?" Marissa met his eyes, her expression softening. "We each held on to different pieces of her. It was never just one of us." The storm outside escalated, thunder rumbling like the heartbeat of the earth itself. But inside, there was a shifting something new forming amidst their confessions. "I think we should share what we enjoyed most about her," Mia proposed, her voice stronger now. "Let us remember those moments, not just the pain." Ethan found a smile breaking through, lifting his heart. "Yeah, she loved the little things." Jake picked up the bottle again. "Okay, but if we're gonna do this, let us pour some more. Let us celebrate her, not just the grief." As they poured the liquid once more, a sense of grounding settled among them. They began sharing stories, light-hearted memories of family dinners, laughter echoing in the kitchen, her terrible puns that somehow made everything better. Just as they began to feel lighter, a sudden loud crash struck the ground nearby, followed by a flash of light illuminating their faces. They screamed, hearts pounding, and then fell into laughter as they realized they were safe in this moment together. Yet, as the echoes of their laughter faded into the night, the unspoken threads lingered in the air, a reminder of the deeper truths still waiting to be revealed. Where would they go from here? What else loomed beneath the surface? The storm continued to rumble, sparking a tension between the past and the future. Would this newfound connection hold, or would the weight of untold stories pull them apart once more? The tension in the air seemed to crackle with the intensity of the storm. Ethan took a deep breath, glancing at his siblings, who all wore expressions that mixed relief with what felt like anxiety. They had begun to break down some of the barriers, but so much more lay ahead. What about the time she tried to bake that birthday cake? Mia offered, a glint of nostalgia spilling into her voice. It was an invitation back into a softer space, one where laughter outweighed sorrow. Jake snorted. You mean the time she nearly burned the house down? I still remember her face when she pulled that tray out, all proud, only to see the cake had transformed into a charred lump of disappointment. The storm curled around them, but inside, warmth blossomed. They all began to laugh, laughter that sparked like lightning in the silence. Maybe we should have made her a charred cake for her birthday every year after that, Marissa joked, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. Ethan could hardly keep up with the flood of memories. She didn't give up, though. She tried again the next year. Made cookies instead. Which she totally forgot about, Mia chimed in, her cheeks rosy with laughter. They were hard as rocks. But we still ate them. Because we had to. It was a family rule. Jake quipped, playfully mimicking their mom's sing-song voice. You've got to finish what you start. Laughter bathed them, but suddenly, as another clap of thunder interrupted, that joy was swept away by an undercurrent of something deeper. The mention of her never-ending efforts felt like a slight sting in Ethan's chest. What about the fights? He asked softly, the laughter fading. The things we said when we were angry? Did she really think we didn't notice? A heavy silence fell, all the air squeezed out of the room like a balloon losing its last breath. She thought she was hiding it, Marissa said cautiously, her voice dropping low. But we felt it. Those moments of tension, they were hard. A wave of vulnerability washed over them once more. I remember one night, Mia began, looking away into the distance. We had that big argument about who was supposed to help set the table. Mom shouted at us, and I thought she was mad at me for being the one who forgot to do it. She wasn't mad at you. Ethan interjected, feeling the rush of old fears resurface. I think she was just, overwhelmed. We all were. Exactly, Jake said, frowning. We were kids, stuck in our own worlds, and we never really saw how hard it was for her. What if we had talked more? Mia's voice trembled. What if we'd taken time to understand her feelings instead of just worrying about our own? Their laughter turned to quiet reflections, the kind that pushed against the walls built over years of silence. The storm outside roared louder, filling the space as the conversations turned heavier, like the weight of their unaddressed pain. I wish we could figure out how to keep her memory alive but without the bitterness, Ethan murmured, feeling sadness swirl inside him. Maybe it starts with being honest. Just as he spoke, a crash of thunder sent a shiver through the windows. Moments later, the power flickered, plunging the room into darkness. Great timing, Jake muttered, but there was no humor in his voice now, just an underlying anxiety. In the pitch black, they could hear their own breathing, see shadows move beside them. It felt as if the storm was now more than just weather, it carried the weight of all their unaddressed memories, all their regrets. Mia, are you okay? Marissa reached out, her hand brushing against calm before the storm became too real. I just need to know, she whispered, vulnerability hanging in the space between them. What if we do uncover things we can't handle? The storm raged on outside, but inside, the real tempest was just beginning, as they stared into the oblivion, knowing they had to find light amidst the darkness. And as thunder rolled, Ethan's heart raced with one burning question: what other hidden truths lay in store for them when the storm finally calmed? The silence pressed down on them, the kind that wraps like a heavy blanket, making each breath feel laborious. Ethan could feel his heart hammering in the stillness, echoing the storm outside. I think we have to talk about it, Mia's whisper broke through the dark. About the night the night it all changed. Don't you think we've opened enough old wounds? Jake shot back, his voice tight. No. Mia's urgency cut through the tension. If we don't face it, how can we heal? We've spent so long avoiding this moment. It's time. Ethan shifted, contemplating her words. They had skirted around the topic for years, treating it like a fragile glass ornament they were afraid to touch. But now, with each crack of thunder, he felt a greater urge to confront what lingered in the shadows of their memories. "Okay," he finally said, his voice steady. "Let us talk about it. Let us remember her as she deserved." Marissa nodded, her breath is shaky. That night maybe it wasn't just about us. Maybe it was about her pain too. A distant rumble of thunder began to fade, but inside, the tempest was growing. "I remember when she got that bottle of whiskey," Jake said, his voice quieter now. "It was a birthday gift. I thought it was for celebration, not the somber evening it turned into." "Yeah," Mia added, the threads of memory weaving back together. "She was so excited, showing us how she could make a new cocktail." But then the laughter turned to tears. Ethan swallowed hard, his throat tightening. "She didn't mean for it to end that way. It felt like one moment we were smiling, and the next everything felt too heavy." They all shared that same terrible memory, the way it felt to watch her break. Each drink taken as an escape from the chaos she carried within, pain they had never understood as children. "I can still hear her voice, crying while trying to assure us," Marissa said, her words quivering. "She just wanted us to laugh. She wanted to feel normal." "But she wasn't okay," Ethan whispered. "She hid it from us, just like how we hid our own struggles. Maybe if we had been honest, too, it wouldn't have ended that way." A wave of discomfort washed over them as they acknowledged the weight of the truth they had all avoided. "What if we tell each other how we felt?" Mia suggested, her voice trembling with tentative hope. "Maybe we can turn our pain into something better." "Maybe that's how we hold on to her memory," Jake said, face lighting up slightly. "Not by trapping it in fear, but by sharing our truths." The air felt brighter, as if hope was trickling back in through the cracks. "What if we held a memorial? Something that honors her but isn't shrouded in sadness?" Ethan proposed, a surge of excitement taking root. "What if we share stories? Celebrate the real her, with all her messiness?" Marissa smiled, the tiniest spark igniting in her eyes. Mia's face brightened. "And we could each bring that whiskey. Not to drown in sorrow, but maybe to raise a glass in her honor." "Yes!" Ethan exclaimed, feeling the warmth of momentum building. "We can transform this pain into remembrance, maybe even joy. We'll take back what's been stolen." Just then, another rumble echoed through the room, but this time it felt lighter, as if the storm herself was letting go. "What happens if, amidst all the reminiscing?" Mia asked slowly, her brows furrowed in concern. "What if what we uncover brings up more hurt?" "Then we'll face it together," Jake replied, a firm resolve in his voice. "Because this time, we will be honest with each other." As they sat there, a fresh surge of energy coursed through the siblings. A new chapter awaited them, one drenched in realizations they've long avoided. But just as they leaned into this newfound hope, another heavy crash of lightning lit up the darkness around them. Ethan's heart raced once more, filled with curiosity and fear. What would they uncover if they truly let the light shine in? Ethan's heart raced as the storm outside swirled, mirroring the whirlwind of emotions in the room. The flicker of lightning illuminated the faces of his family, their expressions a mixture of hope and apprehension. The past they had been so afraid to confront was now looming large, but instead of fear, a strange comfort began to take root in their hearts. "All right," Ethan said, his voice steadying. "Let us do this. Let us face it all." The words hung in the air, heavy with both weight and purpose. Each one of them nodded, feeling that familiar sense of unity that had eluded them for so long. Mia swallowed hard, her brow furrowing as she prepared to dive into the depths of their shared history. I want to understand everything," she said, her voice raw. "How did we let it get so bad? Why didn't we notice that things weren't okay?" Marissa reached out to Mia, squeezing her hand. "We were all wrapped up in our own worlds. It's easy to forget the signals when you're caught up in the chaos of life. But we can't keep doing that." Jake leaned back slightly, layers of realization unfolding in his mind. "Our family, our memories, they don't need to be tethered to hurt forever. We can remember Mom, how she loved us, and still acknowledge her pain. That moment of clarity ignited a spark between them, a shared understanding that they could breathe life into their memories without drowning in sorrow. Maybe we can plan a day, Ethan suggested, fanning the flames of excitement while grounding himself. Something we do every year. To celebrate her, to share stories that remind us why she mattered. With each word, they began to sculpt a vision, an annual family day filled with love, laughter, and liberation from the pain that had filtered through their family narrative for so long. Then let us start with the whiskey, Jake chimed in. We can toast to her memory, not as a burden, but as a celebration. Marissa smiled, warmth filtering through her expression. We'll honor her right, and maybe let go of the guilt we've all carried. As they discussed memories and dreams, the bond between them felt fresh, lighter as new life was breathed into their once stagnant family dynamic. Ethan realized how the fear had melted away, replaced by laughter and the warmth of memories shared. Each story, each confession pulled them closer to a shared truth, providing a platform to build a new kind of connection. Together, we can face anything, Mia said, her voice gaining strength. We can embrace everything, our love for her, the pain, the joy. There's beauty in all of it. Just as they seemed to find clarity, an abrupt booming crash came from nearby, startling them once again. Another branch? Ethan proposed, his heart racing once more, but now, amidst laughter, it felt lighter. Something tells me this storm is less about destruction and more about change, Marissa said, her eyes sparkling with conviction. It feels like a cleansing. Jake grabbed the chainsaw, excitement radiating between them. So what are we waiting for? Let us show this storm we're ready for anything. As they ventured back out to tackle the fallen tree together, a tide of promise surged through them. The storm rumbled above, still powerful, but they faced it all together, a united front ready to reclaim and renew their family legacy. The laughter erupted as they engaged with the task before them, prying apart the layers of nature's fury and working together in rhythm. In that moment, as the sun broke through the clouds, a warmth enveloped the clearing. See, Ethan shouted over the roar of the chainsaw. This feels good. We can do hard things together. The storm may have made their morning turbulent, but it also led them to reminders of strength, family, and healing. They were forging new paths filled with love and reconciliation. Finally, with the last branch safely cleared, they stepped back to admire their hard work. Okay, now where's that whiskey? Mia chimed, laughter echoing while they caught their breath, hearts beating less with dread and more with hope. Underneath the sky, brightening after the storm, Ethan realized they had survived not only the tempest of the weather but the turmoil of isolation. They stood united, brave enough to face the truth, turning pain into a newfound joy while filling the gaps that had so often silenced them. Together, they found strength. To Mom, they all said in unison, hope blossoming between them like sunshine breaking through the clouds. Ethan felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude fill him, overwhelming in the most beautiful way. He turned to face his family, feeling the warmth of forgiveness and connection. They had transformed not just themselves but their entire family dynamic. This was just the beginning. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to never miss these transformative stories. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and keep this journey alive. Comment your reactions and thoughts about this ending. Let your voice be heard. Share this moment with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. It's time to celebrate families coming together.